Have you ever downloaded a new app and just had to stop and wonder, wait a minute, how did they get me? You know, in a world with literally millions of apps, it's definitely not luck that puts one on your home screen. Nope, it's a carefully crafted psychological journey. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the exact 5-step map that marketers use to guide you from just a casual glance all the way to becoming a loyal user.
Okay, so to really get a grip on the challenge here, you gotta start with the numbers. And this one is just staggering. Right now, there are over 5 million apps competing for your attention. 5 million. I mean, that's more apps than there are people in a lot of countries. And with thousands more launching every single day, the competition isn't just fierce, it's a total digital blizzard out there.
Which of course brings us to the big question, right? With that insane level of competition, how does any app, I don't care if it's for fitness, finance, or food delivery, how does it actually get noticed, get downloaded, and more importantly, get used? Well, I'll tell you this, it is no accident. It is all by design.
And that design? It follows a map. It's a time-tested marketing framework called ADAR. Now, you should think of it as the psychological path that marketers carefully guide you down, from the very first moment you even hear about an app to the moment you feel like you can't live without it.
So this whole framework, it's broken down into 5 distinct stages. First, they have to make you aware that the app even exists. Then, they work to spark your interest. From there, they build that interest into a real desire, which pushes you toward action, clicking that install button. And then finally, and this is maybe the most crucial part of all, they focus on retention, on keeping you around as a happy, loyal user. We're going to walk through every single one of these. Now, you might be thinking, hey, this sounds kind of like old school marketing. And, you'd be right. But believe it or not, IDAR is having a major comeback. Why now? Well, because in a world with way stricter privacy rules like the ones from Apple, this framework helps marketers target you without needing to know exactly who you are. And it provides the perfect blueprint for all the new AI-powered tools that are at the very heart of modern app marketing. All right, let's dive in at the very beginning of the journey. The first 2 steps, awareness and interest, they're all about cutting through that digital blizzard we talked about to get you to just look up from what you're doing and say, what's this?
So how do they get on your radar in the first place? Well, the tactics are getting incredibly clever. You ever been watching a cooking show on a streaming service and suddenly an ad for a food delivery app pops up? That's not a coincidence. That's connected TV advertising, and it's super targeted. They also create these really smooth web-to-app journeys. So if you're browsing on your computer, one little click sends you right to the App Store on your phone. You combine that with social media, influencers, and search ads, and their app becomes almost impossible to miss.
But once they have your attention, they have to keep it. And this right here is where personalization is an absolute game changer. Think about it. A generic one-size-fits-all App Store page, it's basically dead in the water now. Today, if you search the App Store for rides, Uber will show you a page that's all about getting from point A to point B. But if you search for food delivery, that same app's page suddenly morphs to be all about Uber Eats. It's the same app, but it's speaking your language in that exact moment.
And this brings us to the real tipping point. These middle stages of the journey are where an app has to convince you that it's not just another icon to clutter up your screen, but that it's a must-have tool. This is where interest has to turn into real desire, and that desire leads you to take action. But building that desire has gotten a whole lot trickier. The old way was, let's be honest, kind of creepy. It was all about tracking your every move online. Now, with all the new privacy rules, that's just not possible anymore. As you can see here, the new way is all about looking at anonymous groups, or cohorts. So instead of targeting Jane Smith, who lives in Brooklyn, they're targeting a group of 1,000 people in Brooklyn who recently showed interest in fitness apps. Your personal data stays safe and private, but the targeting is still surprisingly accurate.
And a lot of times, that desire is directly linked to how the app actually makes money. The most successful apps tend to use a smart mix of strategies. You've got the freemium model, where you get the basics for free, but you have to pay to unlock all the good stuff. Then there are straight-up premium subscriptions, and of course, the big one, in-app purchases, all those little extras that can add up really fast.
In that freemium model, it can be insanely effective. I mean, just look at Spotify. An incredible 46% of their free users eventually decide to upgrade to a paid premium subscription. Now, to put that in perspective, the industry average is somewhere between 2 and 5%. So Spotify is just crushing it. It just goes to show you how powerful it is to let users experience the value first.
The final step here is action.
And a lot of the time, that means making an in-app purchase. And look, we're not talking about small change here. This market is worth over $200 billion. That's billion with a B, and it is growing at a mind-blowing rate. For so many apps out there, this is the engine that powers their entire business.
But getting you to download the app or make that first purchase isn't the end of the journey. Not even close. In fact, you could say it's just the beginning. Because the final and by far the most profitable stage is all about the long game, retention. It's the art of keeping you engaged and loyal for the long haul.
So here's the bottom line, and it's so important. It costs way, way more to find a new customer than it does to just keep an existing one happy. If an app has a high churn rate, which means people are downloading it and then deleting it a week later, then all that money and all that effort they spent on awareness and interest, it's just completely wasted. So, what are the tricks to keeping you hooked? Well, it's this really powerful mix of technology and psychology. You've got AI creating those custom playlists and news feeds that feel like they were made just for you. It's so smart, it can even predict when you're about to churn or leave the app, and it'll send a perfectly timed notification to try and pull you back in. You throw in some loyalty programs, referral bonuses, and a constant stream of new features, and it becomes really, really hard to leave. Okay, so let's bring all this together. What is the big takeaway from this whole journey through the modern world of app marketing? Really, it's all about adapting to a brand new landscape.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. I mean, we've gone from tracking individuals to analyzing anonymous groups. The future? Well, it looks like marketers are basically becoming AI strategists, where their main job is to guide the algorithms that do all the heavy lifting. But here's the one timeless principle through all of this change. In a crowded market, personalization is still king. It's everything.
And that brings me to a final thought for you. Now that you have the map, the next time you find yourself downloading a new app, just take a second. Can you see the breadcrumbs they left for you? Can you spot your own journey through awareness, interest, desire, action, and retention? I think you might be pretty surprised by what you find.